Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Juggernaut, and today I want to write a love letter to AMD's support. And by write, I mean, well, record this video. Now, it's not just going to be me sitting here and praising how AMD's technical support guys are awesome and how you should, be thankful that they do such a good job and etc, etc. That wouldn't make for much of a video, but they are, and I really do have nothing but the best and the most positive experience of talking to them, but I want to display just how good of a job they do and just how efficient and, professional the team they have working for support over there is. At least that has been my experience. The game in the background is Rome Total War Remastered, and I'm using the Mundum Vincere mod along with a couple of tweaks that I've personally put into the mod for, just some quality of life improvements, like being able to recruit the first legionary cohorts, having the 12 turns per year scripts, etc, etc. But, that's not very important for this video, but just, in case you were wondering, that's what I'm using in the background for this video. Now, let's get into it. So, namely, why did I even have to contact support, the support team, and what was the problem? So, this started about 4 or 5 months ago. No, actually, probably more than that, like 6 or 7 months ago. Yeah, it's been a long while of me trying to get to the bottom of this issue. So let me just describe the problem first, and then I'll tell you how they solved it for me within like a couple of days, literally. And basically that's the gist of the video, and I'm hoping that this might help someone if you have a similar problem. If not, then this is here to let you know that you can always contact the support of whatever your preferred GPU or CPU manufacturer is, and generally speaking, they are willing to help. But here's the thing. I bought this GPU, I have the AMD 7900 XT, about 3 years ago, I think. So the card's warranty is well and truly expired. And I can't really complain to anyone by, sending them the card back and telling them, well, this isn't working anymore because, warranty's gone, and that's an issue, especially considering that, the price of GPU cards nowadays isn't exactly stellar. Not as bad as it used to be, but honestly, not that much better either, if you ask me. And so I was really, really scared that what I'm dealing with is just a defective video card and that I'm going to have some big issues trying to fix this. And I would. But fix what exactly, Juggernaut? You haven't gotten around to that yet. Yeah, that's kind of the whole problem. I'm not sure. You see, the one problem that I've had, and I've had it for a fairly long amount of time, I think, even on my old PC, is that my GPU would crash for no reason. And I don't have a better way of explaining it. It would just stop working. It would cause my computer to hard crash, both of my monitors would go black, I could hear the fans of the GPU spinning very, very quickly, and the computer wouldn't respond. There was nothing I could do. I had to restart the computer, power it down fully, either kill the power in it, power it back on, and then something interesting would happen. My drivers, at least that's what I thought, would be corrupt, and I would have to reinstall them. Like I said, that's what I thought was going on. In actual fact, what was happening was the GPU would be disabled within Windows, and Windows would default to the integrated GPU that I think my processor has. And on my old PC, I didn't have an integrated GPU, so it was even worse. Yeah, and there was no way of enabling it again. So the best way I found to fix the issue was to just reinstall the drivers, and it would fix everything. Until the next crash. Well, Juggernaut, how often would this happen? Every day? About once a week. Or once every 2 weeks. or so. You see the problem? Now, I believe that for a support guy, this is hell. Because A, I can't reproduce the error, B, there is nothing on my PC, no log, nothing that would indicate what the problem is. And I have spent months looking. I contacted people that are way more well-versed in computer science and hardware and graphics cards and whatever than me, trying to find a solution, right? Hoping against hope that it was something simple and not a case of, well, you just gotta throw the GPU out the window, you know, buy NVIDIA and hope it doesn't have the same problem. It did. Well, maybe not this, but it had similar problems as well that I've heard reported. This is the thing. I bought this GPU when it was kind of new still, about 3 years ago, and NVIDIA had a lot of driver issues when the 40 series card came out. AMD had lots of issues as well. You just probably didn't hear that much about them because they weren't that major, and they were relatively alright and easy to deal with. For example, the biggest problem I had initially when buying the card for the first few months was screen flickering. So my screen would flicker for no reason, and usually it was a problem with VSync, or it was a problem with those fluid frames, or some type of software problem, and then 5 or 6 driver updates later, everything in the card software-wise worked fine without any screen flickering. Oddly enough, one of the main fixes that was suggested for this was to lower the refresh rate to 60 Hz on your monitor. That would sort of fix it. I paid for the 144 Hz monitor. I'm gonna use all 144 Hz that I've paid for, god damn it. But yeah, that's an incredibly depressing fix, that to have to lower down to 60 Hz in order to not have screen flickering. That is depressing, right? But at any rate, that was one of the fixes, and those were some of the early problems that I had with the card. But like I said, I ran into similar issues with hardware acceleration, with you know, all sorts of problems on the NVIDIA and the green camp side of things. So it's not like, you know, buying one brand over the other was better for me or for anyone else. There were problems galore when those new cards came out, and yeah, what can you do about it, I suppose? Well, turns out not that much, and just waiting solved the issue. Fair enough, you know, it's not the biggest problem in the world, it's not that bad, except I thought, you know, yeah, maybe it's the same thing with these crashes. It looks like a driver issues to me. I mean, the card works fine. I noticed that it mostly crashes when I'm using OBS or using Sony Vegas to render and edit videos. So I thought initially it was just those two problems, and I wanted to switch from OBS to something else, and I ended up just not using OBS for a while to play some games like Cyberpunk or Escape from Tarkov, and it wouldn't crash. At least not anywhere near as often, but occasionally it did. And so that to me was proof that it's not OBS. It can't be OBS, and I contacted OBS support, oddly enough, thinking that this was a recording software issue. And I was told and given great insight into how OBS is made as a program, right? How it was constructed and the sort of inner workings of the program, which I'm extremely grateful for. I'm not exactly a software engineer. I don't know much about coding. I know how to use the program, but that's about the extent of my knowledge. However, I'm very grateful for, you know, being given the information anyway. It is an open source program, so it's not like they were sharing something confidential with me, but they explain certain things to me. And the TLDR of it is basically OBS is constructed from the ground up in such a way that it's almost impossible for it to cause a computer crash. OBS will crash, that's fine, it happens. However, it's almost impossible for it to cause your entire computer to crash. And I thought, well, I beg to differ, look at this. And yeah, fair enough, I had some big problems, but it wasn't OBS's fault. As I've later learned, when I got the same crashes in Cyberpunk a couple of times, same crash as in Tarkov once or twice, and so on and so forth. It was hell. And so there I am thinking to myself, okay, what the hell do I do now? I can't really recreate this, and I don't know how to complain, or who am I going to contact? Am I going to take the card to, like, a local PC shop or something and tell them, right, every 2 weeks or so, this computer crashes? They're going to tell me I'm insane, like, nobody's going to actually deal with that problem. So how the hell do I fix this issue? Well, I didn't. I tried various online fixes, some of which recommended lowering the operating frequency of my RAM, not VRAM, just regular RAM, to, I think it was like less than 5,000 or less than 4,000 or something like that, to try and get it to fix itself, saying that that could be causing the crashes. And I thought, well, could be. I mean, nowhere in here does it actually say that it's the GPU. And then, like I mentioned previously, I contacted a person that's quite the expert in PCs in general and hardware, and works, I think, for a company, like a programmer somewhere, I believe. It's a friend of a friend sort of situation. But anyways, I was extremely grateful for the help, and she tried to look for logs in my PC to see what is causing the crashes. And we spent a while trying to find literally anything. There was nothing. And there's all sorts of different ways you can find that. There's all sorts of different programs that you can use. It took a while, and there was literally nothing. We couldn't find a single event log, anything that said, right, here's where it crashed. No, it just stops. The moment the crash occurs, nothing. And this went on for a while. For a long while. For a few months, I couldn't find the cause of the problem. I couldn't fix it. There was nothing I could do. And so, I didn't do anything. I mean, weird as this might sound, it wasn't that big of an issue to where I couldn't use my computer. And it wasn't an issue to where I couldn't use my computer for work, because some of you may or may know this already. I work for a university as a researcher, and that's what I do most of these days. I write scientific papers, and that's sort of the main source of income. Or it's not the only, but it's more or less the only source of income I have, right? A few like odd jobs here and there. YouTube brings in like a couple of bucks every month, and so on and so forth. But that's what I live off of, right? And these crashes would happen only when doing some really high performance intensity task, something that would really stress the GPU, like recording or video editing. And so I thought, hold on, maybe I can reproduce it if I... sorry, my throat's drying up, I need a minute. Sorry about that. Anyways, as I was saying, I thought to myself, maybe I could recreate these crashes by doing stress tests. So there's different programs that let you do various stress tests on your GPU, on the whole system, etc., etc., and I did one for about 30 minutes. No crashes. And then I did another one for about 30 minutes again, on a different program, no crashes. And then another one, no crashes. I'm like, holy mother of God, this is really not cooperating. Hey, what now? Well, I then tried a series of other fixes that I found recommended online, and there was all sorts of exuberant and exotic and, wild different goose chases, basically, for which I do not blame people that wrote down those potential fixes one bit, because for all I know, they helped someone, right? Like, worth a shot. They just didn't help me. And what the hell? I thought, you know what? Maybe I don't want to know the answer to this question, because from everything that I've seen thus far, the answer appears to be go and buy a new GPU, even though this one's really, really good by today's standards. And, you don't really have the money for it, but I don't really think there's another option for you. And so I sort of let it be for a little bit. Occasionally the PC would crash, I would reinstall my drivers, and then I found about 2 weeks ago a different way of sort of bringing things back to normal without having to reinstall the drivers. And I thought, well, hold on, this is some progress, we're getting somewhere. And then I also had like 2 crashes in the same week. One while playing, I think, Need for Speed, one of the older ones, which is not a really graphically demanding game. I mean, it's, it's no Mario Kart or Minecraft or whatever, although Minecraft can be extremely graphically demanding depending on your mods, but you get the idea. It's not exactly, the original Doom or something, but it's not like the most graphically demanding game ever. I think it was Hot Pursuit Remastered I was playing, and it crashed. And then the other crash was also on a slightly older game. And I thought, well, hold on, this is it. Like, I need to look more into this. Because, again, this isn't happening every day, but now it's getting more and more annoying every time it happens. And I realized there is a way to fix the issue without having to reinstall the drivers. And that's by going into display adapters in the device manager for Windows, and disabling my graphics card, enabling it, disabling it, enabling it, disabling it, and enabling it again. Yes, that many times. It didn't work otherwise. You disable it, it shuts down fine. You enable it, the driver crashes. Aha! We're getting somewhere. It's a software problem. Because I can tell this is what's happening. I mean, I don't know if I'm right, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. I thought this is what's happening the moment my PC crashes. The driver crashes, and Windows doesn't know how to switch to the other card or whatever, and it just crashes everything, and the screens go black, and I don't have any, I can't use my computer anymore. This is what's happening. Okay, so the driver crashes, it reverts to the, Windows default one, whatever, to the other GPU, doesn't matter. The integrated one, whatever. You disable it again. You enable it again. The driver, I think, it doesn't crash. I think it times out or whatever. You disable it, you re-enable it, and it works fine. No need to reinstall the driver, no need to do anything. It works fine. And you can play for like another 2 weeks. You can do stress tests, you can record, you can do video editing, whatever. It works fine. You don't even have to restart the PC. Everything's fine. And then, it may or may not crash again. So I thought, hold on. This seems like solid proof that it's a software issue and that it's an AMD issue. Why don't I contact AMD about it? Matter of fact, Juggernaut, why didn't you contact AMD about it, I don't know, 8 months ago? Here's the thing. Like I mentioned previously, I didn't because, the main reason I didn't was the fact that AMD probably wouldn't be too happy dealing with me and my issue because A, I can't reproduce it. B, it happens once every 2 or 3 weeks. C, my warranty's expired, and I have no idea if it's even a GPU issue. I'm not 100% sure at this point yet. And so I thought to myself, well, I can't really bother them about it, right? Can I? Can I? Yes. Yes, you can. As it turns out, AMD support is just a bunch of gigachads working together, and they are willing to help you with a variety of PC issues, even if a good chunk of them have nothing to do with AMD. Now, I'm not saying go over to AMD support if your Nvidia card is crashing, that's a bit rude, and although, given the fact that the CEOs of Nvidia and AMD are related, I mean, I'm not sure what to tell you. It's a weird situation, but at any rate, we're on to something now, right? We're on to something, something's happening, we have progress. Good, fine, great even. What now? Well, contact support, and I need to explain what's going on without sounding crazy, which is a challenge in and of its own right, but let's try and do that. So I explain the issue, I explain the whole history behind the issue, and I tell them a couple of ways I tried to solve it, but I don't go into too many details, because like I said, it's been months since the first crash appeared, and I don't want to tell them how to do their job, and anything I say could probably be, may not be helpful, in fact, may do the polar opposite of help the problem, solve the problem, that is. And so, 20 minutes into the video, we're getting into it. We're getting towards the resolution, I suppose. They tell me, run dxdiag and msinfo and give us that. Give us the logs. We'll take a look at your system and we'll tell you, we'll take it from there. I'm like, all right, listen, I have time. These guys are paid to do this. Let's go. All right, let's take it from the top. Do everything from the start. They recommend that I use the cleanup utility to remove any residual drivers that I may have that might be causing the problem, and also to send them all this info and diagnostics and stuff. So I do those two things. Send them the diags, and they tell me straight up, it's probably one of two things. One, your PSU is not connected properly to your GPU. By the way, I told them I upgraded my PSU at one point to a 1000 watt PSU because I thought maybe that's causing the issue. Maybe there's too much power drain on the system at certain, intervals, and that's what's causing the crash, which is a very common thing to happen, which is why a lot of people upgraded. I think especially recently it's been happening to people that have bought the newest series of both AMD and NVIDIA cards. So I thought maybe it's maybe that's the issue. That didn't help either, just for the record, obviously. And so I told them I tried that already, and they said, well, if you tried to upgrade the PSU already, and it's 1000 watts and it's still happening, it's probably the fact that it's not connected properly. How did you connect it? I'm like, I didn't write this to them, but I've been building PCs since like the early 2000s. I'm pretty sure I know how to connect a GPU to a to a supply unit, right? Yes, I do, and no, I don't. Here's the thing. On newer, modern GPUs that are power-hungry, for each 8 pins, or each 8 of the... What do you call them? I know the expressions for these bits in my native language, but I don't know them in English as well, because I never really looked them up. It's the connectors, right? You have 2 of those small connectors that plug into the GPU. You plug the GPU into the motherboard, and then you have the thing that powers it, that gives it, electricity power. Yeah, usually there's 2 of them for the more expensive cards. It's either 1 or 2, and they have either 6 or 8 pins inside of them. Well, for each 6 or 8, again, depending on the card, there's a whole diagram of how to do it, but for each 6 to 8 pins, you need a separate cable. Which is weird because, let me tell you this, the vast majority of PSUs come with a single cable that has, well, 14, 16, it depends, of those little pins on it that branch, and then you take as many as you need and you plug it into the GPU. It's usually 2 sets of 6, 2 sets of 8, it depends on your configuration. It's 6 plus 2, 2 sets of 6 plus 2, etc., etc. You get to the number of pins that you need towards the end eventually, right? Yeah, turns out you shouldn't use one cable just for that. It should be 2 separate cables drawing power from the PSU. From one cable you put in 8, from the other you put in 8, or 6, and then 6 from one and 6 from the other. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was very important. Apparently it is, and it's known to cause problems occasionally. I thought, yeah, I never learned this. I thought, just single cable, 8 pins, 10 pins, 12 pins, whatever, doesn't matter. However many there are from one cable, as long as it's powered, right? It doesn't matter. It turns out it does. Okay. And then, you said one of the 2, Juggernaut. What's the other one? Well, ask for the other explanation, or the other... I didn't ask, they provided the other possible solution to the problem, and that's my BIOS. Now, I actually updated my BIOS a couple of months ago, I want to say, at that point. And I thought, well, you know, it's just generally speaking, it's a smart thing to do. If you have some issues, generally updating the BIOS can only help resolve them. Generally speaking, again, doesn't do anything bad, that. And so I updated it. Flashed it, as they call it, right? So you download the update on USB, you plug it into the motherboard, you go into your BIOS settings, and you update it from the USB. That's the way I did it. Apparently I didn't do it correctly, because I must have downloaded the wrong update, or a really old update, because the BIOS version I had installed on my computer was from 2023, I think. We're in 2025 right now, and they're telling me that's probably causing the issue. Really? Yup. Wrong BIOS version. And I actually read about this, about my specific motherboard, older BIOS versions having some problems with various things, not just this particular GPU, but with processors not working properly, with RAM being an issue, with, you know, all sorts of problems. You should update it to the 2024 or 2025 version as soon as possible. And I thought I did, but I must have downloaded the wrong update or something when I did it, or whatever the problem was, I don't know. And so I do those two things. I reconnect the GPU properly, I update the BIOS. And ladies and gentlemen, it's been 2 weeks. And the problem's gone. Now, I understand updating the BIOS and running the, you know, utility to clean up your, whatchamacallit, leftover drivers and, you know, stuff like this is pretty much one of the first things that you do when you're trying to resolve an issue. That's not the problem. Now, the problem, it's not like exactly that I'm amazed by the fact that they've suggested those things. I understand that it's a fairly common procedure when you're looking into any sort of hardware or software issues. You're sort of eliminating things that could be problematic one at a time. It's the fact that they knew it was one of those two things. And they told me, if the issue persists, test it out, call us back, you know, send us another DXDiag and an MS-Info. We'll look at the diagnostics again and we'll take it from there. If it persists, but it probably won't. Like, they were fairly sure that's the solution. I was beyond amazed, ladies and gents. I really was. Mainly because I have done so many different fixes for this that my head started to hurt by the end of it. I was genuinely looking for what else there could be other than just, you know, tossing the GPU out the window, and I tried a billion different things. And one, the power cable thing, I couldn't find anywhere online. Nowhere was that even mentioned. Two, flashing the BIOS was... yeah, I was told to do that at some point, but it wasn't nearly as common, or it wasn't the first thing that the people generally suggested. The first thing people suggested was, I think, running an older driver version, trying that, and then doing the factory reset and so on and so forth. None of that worked. But I wasn't even asked to do a factory reset. I wasn't even asked if I overclocked my GPU, which I did at one point. A little bit. It's within the program that you get already. There's like a default value that you can overclock it a little bit, and it'll do it on its own, and it's completely safe or whatever. I disabled that, hoping that that was causing the crashes. It wasn't. So I re-enabled it afterwards, and so on and so forth. But not to get too much into it right now. All of those things I did, all of those things, and nothing happened. And here are these guys from support that just nail it down to two possible solutions within like 5 minutes of looking at my system. I was pretty bloody amazed. I was like, guys, well done. I am amazed. Thank you. And this isn't the first time. I had a different experience with different problems on an older GPU. And they were just as helpful, just as professional, just as quick the other time as well. And it was amazing. It was absolutely bloody amazing. And I have nothing but praise for AMD's support team. They helped me out back then, they helped me out now, and thank you, AMD, is all I can say. It's been wonderful working with you, and genuinely speaking, the support team is one of the bigger reasons why I chose to go with an AMD card. That and the general value for dollar, or value per dollar spent, if you will, at the time, and especially now with the new cards coming out and stuff like that. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. And there you go. That's been my experience. What can I say? It was interesting. It was one heck of a ride trying to find the solution, and at the end of the day, the solution was just a couple of emails away.
Awaiting your command.
And that's about it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. My name's been Juggernaut. This has been my love letter to AMD's support and how I fixed one of the strangest, possibly, and most annoying issues that I've had in my PC gaming life, probably. Mainly because it's so difficult to detect, it's so difficult to reproduce that, you know, you don't really know how to go about trying to solve it, well, where to begin. And thanks to AMD's support, like I said, I was able to do it.
Awaiting your command.
If you have any PC-related questions, feel free to direct it to those guys. I'm no expert, but yeah, I'm hoping that maybe, just maybe, this helps someone out there. If you have similar issues or, you know, tangentially related issues, you can go ahead and call someone from the support team, and they're more than willing to help you. They're extremely polite, extremely fast, extremely professional, and I have nothing but words of praise for them. That's about it. Okay, that's me done for the day. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Have fun, take care, and bye-bye, and I hope you enjoyed the little story.